the misfortune of the band that led to Metallica's fade to black. Heavy metal and suicide can be a mix that brings about unintended and potentially explosive results. In 1980, Ozzy Osbourne included the song Suicide Solution on his debut album, Blizzard of Ozz. 5 years later, the parents of a 19-year-old fan who committed suicide after listening to the song filed a lawsuit against Ozzy Osbourne. The lawsuit was dismissed from court, and bassist Bob Daisley later disclosed that he had been thinking about Osbourne and his addictions when he was writing the lyrics to the song. 20 years later, Judas Priest was put on trial for supposedly having subliminal messages on the album Stained Class that influenced 2 teenage followers to take their own lives. The ridiculous accusations against them were dropped against them. When Metallica released the song Fade to Black on their sophomore album Ride the Lightning in 1984, they were subjected to a new kind of scrutiny than they had previously been. It has nothing to do with the depressing words of the song. The band from the Bay Area was a thrash band that was gaining a lot of respect and was on the rise. Their debut album, Kill 'Em All, had a lot of strong music. At this point, they had released a ballad that was semi-acoustic, as well as an anthem that was more melodic and mid-tempo, and it was called Escape. The song was about claiming one's freedom. Back in the 1980s, when an underground band chose to move toward a more melodic sound, it caused hardcore supporters to worry that the band was selling out. This is not something that would be considered contentious nowadays. In the end, these 2 songs offered a pleasant counterpoint to the other tumultuous music that were included on Ride the Lightning. It wasn't a power ballad. There is a difference between acoustic verses and powerful, wordless choruses in Fade to Black, which is followed by an eerie, metallic finale that features melancholy guitar soloing by Kirk Hammett. This is what makes the song so interesting musically. In any case, this was not a power ballad about love. In fact, the trend of power ballads about love in metal didn't really get off the ground until Dawkins' Alone Again became a huge hit in the spring of 1985. The words of Metallica frontman James Hetfield were so depressing that they transported listeners to a terrible place. Fade to Black was a big step for us, Hetfield said in an interview with Guitar World in the year 1991. Considering that it was pretty much our first ballad, we were aware that it would make people feel uneasy. Exodus and Slayer are examples of bands that do not perform ballads, but they have put themselves in a position that we would have never wanted to be in. It is a waste of time to restrict yourself in order to please your fans. I discovered how frustrating playing an acoustic guitar can be as I was recording the tune. Because every squeak could be heard, I had to ensure that I was careful. Dark thoughts served as inspiration. The song Fade to Black was written by Hetfield while he was sitting on the couch of a friend in New Jersey, as a result of the band's manager kicking them out of his house for consuming all of his alcoholic beverages and breaking things. The friend decided to take in the band. At the same time when Metallica was going through a difficult time, they found themselves in a transitory housing situation. In Boston, a U-Haul that contained all of their equipment, including a highly sought-after Marshall amplifier that Hetfield cherished, had been stolen before they were scheduled to travel to Europe. They were still in their youth and struggled to make it in the world. The vocalist told Rolling Stone in 1993 that he was certain he was not going to take his own life, despite the fact that things appeared to be in a hopeless state. All he was doing was venting. Hetfield later admitted that there was a possibility that the song's aim could be misunderstood by some individuals. It is interesting to consider whether or not they would have been more popular if people from the outside had also accused them of inciting their followers to take their own lives. In spite of all of their problems, the show continued. In order to meet with producer Flemming Rasmussen, Metallica traveled to Copenhagen, Denmark 1 month later. While there, they slept in a studio that was only partially constructed upstairs at Sweet Silent Studios. They recorded their second album between the hours of 7 o'clock at night and 4 o'clock in the morning, when no one else was recording. In those days, they were still living in a primitive manner. In spite of this, the lyrics to Fade to Black were rather strong, beginning with the following. Life, it seems, will fade away, drifting further every day, getting lost within myself. Nothing matters, no one else. I have lost the will to live. Simply nothing more to give. There is nothing more for me. Need the end to set me free. Evolving meaning. Hetfield has observed that because of the unfortunate events that have occurred in his life over the years, the song has taken on a newfound sense of poignancy. In 2018, Hetfield stated in an interview for the So What? Video series that songs such as Fade to Black and The Unforgiven are examples of music that undergo a transformation. Their appearance is always changing for me. This was a realistic situation at the time that Fade to Black was first penned. For example, I.F. King Despise Life. We just had our equipment taken. We are unable to live out our dream. We are not going to be able to travel to Europe, and all of these other things. Then, of course, the song comes to mind whenever somebody significant in our lives, such as bass guitarist Cliff Burton, or when somebody similar dies away. To put it another way, Chris Cornell, Ronnie James Dio, etc. That song breathes new life into me because of the passing of someone. The leader for Metallica remembered a time when he witnessed a young woman in the audience being overcome with emotion as the band was performing the song. I was attached to the acoustic, but I wanted to go over there and, I don't know, mentally give her a hug or something. Hetfield said in an interview with So What? You know, even if you just wink at her or say something like, "It's going to be okay." Maintaining the will. At a Metallica concert a few years ago, Hetfield introduced a performance of Fade to Black by stating, "This song, Fade to Black, is about suicide." These words were spoken before the song was performed. It is not a topic that is enjoyable. You do realize that we are not supposed to discuss it, right? However, we are. We've all experienced it. Every single one of us has known someone who has been affected by that. The solution is a long-term answer to a problem that is just transitory. Whenever you are having difficulty, please talk to someone, due to the fact that you are loved and that you are a member of the family. Not only are you not alone, heavy metal has always been a kind of music that has the potential to be cathartic when it is performed in its highest form. There are a lot of reasons why fans are so enthusiastic about collecting CDs, going to gigs, and banging their heads. When compared to the use of drugs or alcohol, this method of coping with one's problem is unquestionably less detrimental. The reverse of what critics believe occurs when one examines oneself in a dark mirror and considers the potential outcomes that could result from doing a potentially life-threatening act such as suicide. By doing so, one is able to rid themselves of those negative thoughts, break free from them, and not be constrained by them. Among these songs is the captivating Fade to Black, which is one of them.